What's up, guys? I'm here with Jorge, the founder of Cherito, and we're going to talk a little bit about where coffee meets on-chain transformation. And so, Jorge, could you give me a little bit of like the background on how Cheritos got started and like why Bitcoin is actually really important to the business you built?
Well, thank you for having me, and also for all the support, direct trade relationship. I relocated back to El Salvador about 15 years ago, and I'm a third generation coffee producer. And as you know, the legacy system, the fiat system, created this financial instrument called commodities for all those countries that are in between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. And of course, sugar, cacao, coffee trade is always regulated. It's subject to manipulation, economic hardships. And El Salvador not only had to combat that, but also as a small farmer, we had to depend on interest rates from 12%, if you're subject to credit, from 12% all the way to 45% interest. It's perpetual debt. Yeah. And so I said one day, like, okay, I'd really like coffee has always is in my blood, but it's impossible to live from it. And I really don't want to go back to the U.S. I wanted to live here and it kind of like be that salmon that it goes against the current. Everybody's leaving and I'm the only one coming back. But nonetheless, I think it was a calling. I guess I wanted to continue to do something that nobody really does. And that's get into what we call the specialty coffee industry. Specialty coffee industry is about 5% of the whole coffee industry, which after water is the most consumed product. So I said, how is it possible that everybody wants this, but we cannot live properly and everybody is in poverty in this? So I took it upon myself to kind of integrate a value chain, a very complex system, become an exporter of specialty coffee, deal with direct trade. Yeah. And I managed to do that. And that's where I found Bitcoin, because that was the missing component of what we want to do, is establish a farm to cup or a peer-to-peer system. When I read the white paper, it clicked. I mean, this is what really the piece of the puzzle that was missing, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And that's what I needed. This is like a peer-to-peer, value for value. And that was about after 3 calls that I didn't really want to like learn anything about Bitcoin. I thought it was a video game. 2014, 2017, my father said, listen to Max Kaiser and Stacy en Español. And I'm like, I don't have time. By 2019, I had a little espresso bar at Bitcoin Beach, back then, Pueblo Loco, Zonte. Yeah. And that's where we had the first ATM with our partners. We had a little cafe, and that's what that gave me a chance to be more exposed to Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, that was like the best day of my life. Yes.
So, okay, so that's the origin. But you, like you said, you work in an industry that, maybe next to water and alcohol, it has no more desire. I personally, I'm not into money, power, or fame. I have no vices except for coffee. I can't live without coffee. And but most of us actually don't know maybe the challenges in the coffee industry. So, I get my overpriced cup of coffee in the U.S. at some fancy store. But actually, behind the scenes, there's a lot going on. You kind of touched on the macro side, but I also want to touch on the micro side, like what's going on in the supply chain, what's going on in the farmers that led up to where you think Bitcoin has a big impact, because the farmers don't necessarily get a significant portion of the profits. It's highly regulated. It's got very low margins. Like the entire supply chain is quite complicated when you go to the source. So maybe you can describe the scenario of the supply chain of the coffee industry?
That's a very good question. Actually, I was just visiting roasters in Germany for the very first time after water. Beer was the most consumed product. Now it's coffee, but also specialty coffee. And in the specialty coffee industry, is even more complex, more rigid, more competitive. We're more about traceability, but there's no transparency. So everybody talks about direct trade. And I began to learn about the hypocrisy and behind the lines, because everybody talks fair trade and this and that. But there's no, I mean, as a farmer, I know there's very low margins. And now we're beginning to see that less and less coffee is going to be produced year over year. Migration is one of the impacts. There's a lot of climate antagonism. I don't like to say climate change, but it's a risk that in any industry you have it, and those uncertainties. But now generic coffee reached all-time high. Tariffs are taking place. So it's like, I've been preaching about this for the last 6-7 years when I became an exporter. And that's where I say, don't trust, verify. Whenever I see somebody that says, we have a direct trade with a farmer, nobody can do that, because you have to go from the farm gate to a exporter, miller, importer, a distributor, roaster. By the time you get it at a Whole Foods or at a roastery cafe, it's gone like the increase in price exponentially, but the farmer gets 3 cents for every cup of coffee, honestly. And we get it. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if you got it at that moment, but we get it about 6 to 10 months later, which kills us. So this is another reason why Bitcoin as a legal tender came as a hope. It's like somebody taking out their power vest and gives it to the people, and they don't make you. It's up to you to embrace or not.
Yep.
So, but if you do and learn more about it, this is where I accept Bitcoin. People pay right now their Americanos, espressos, cappuccinos, and they're buying bags of coffee, and they pay with Bitcoin. That goes instantly to our node. And we also like to distribute from our node royalties to the farmers and everybody in the value chain, which this is what Bitcoin, you cannot do that with American Express or Visa, MasterCard or fiat currency. So I think it's one of those innovations that bring hope to our country. And I want to be known as soon farmers in other countries will be saying, what's El Salvador doing? Like, what's this Cherito guy doing? I'm on the street also as a side job, because Monday I'm back at the farm here with a little truck that we renovated and we converted into espresso bar, promoting that financial freedom.
Yeah. So you said so many things. I want to unpack a few.
Sorry, because
no, there's so much going on, and what you're like, the impact in the farming and agriculture industry, I think, is actually not well understood about what this financial freedom tool can do. And so, you talked about traceability. That ironically, I used to sit on the board of one of the biggest fair trade companies in the world, and you're right, being able to track from farm to table is actually quite difficult. And so that's a huge area for people who think about voting with their money on the things that they think are actually important in the right ways. But then you touched on a couple areas that I think are more nuanced, but let's unpack. So you said the companies and the farms might not get their capital for 60, 90, and then days or many months. What's happening there? Well, how come they produce stuff, don't necessarily have access to credit, but then get paid way, way, way later?
This is where I was at the other conference, Bitcoin Historical, and I think one of the slides that Jeff Booth put on stage was illustrated was more debt will not solve the problem. You will just continue to incur. So this is where, at a macro level or at a micro level, financial markets and institutions come and manipulate, because they always come to help you, and they print more credits out of thin air, and then they just make you work for it. So you can pay it back in a short term, then you consolidate on top of that. So it's like that this is how we do it. Yeah. It's like, okay, this year it's a futures market, so my harvest is compromised for the next year. But right now, all the money that I spent in the last 52 weeks, it's coming to the point where I'm going to harvest in the next month. But that coffee goes through a whole process until it will get exported.
Right.
But in the meantime, I'm ready to the next harvest. But I'm right now. I'm getting. I'm waiting for the exporters to send the importers who just bought last year's crop to give me my money, but that money is compromised because it goes to the banks.
Right.
And then we go again. It's like being like a little bee and somebody taking out all the honey pot.
Right.
And except for us, we're just it's unfortunately, but that's the case. Not many people know what really happens. They just think the coffee comes from the espresso machine or from the cups. No, it's more than that.
Yeah.
This is why the specialty coffee community, I said, it's 5 out of 100 people have that sensorial, like, it's like wine. They see it and they pay a premium for our coffee,
right.
But still they're not Bitcoiners. So it's my job to kind of show them now how I'm doing it by becoming a roaster. So now I have to get on what they do, and vertically integrate the value chain, but so that what everybody sees what Cherito is doing.
And I think you being vertically integrated in the value chain shows where there's unfairness maybe in the value chain, right? So you're describing unfairness in sort of how the credit and futures market work for producers. And so it creates this cycle of interdependency, and then that interdependency doesn't allow the farmers to own their products and really drive their destiny. And so this is like creating financial freedom for them actually allows them to actually be better producers and more productive so that they can actually create more, ultimately GDP. The last piece though that you touched on, and I think this is especially true in the specialty coffee industry, but broadly, you talked a little bit about, these collectives, because the other thing that happens in the coffee industry and farming in general is oftentimes there's collectives involved. And so you talked about how Bitcoin could use royalties and direct payments to impact the collective. So maybe describe that, because that's also really unique innovation.
Okay, and now it's a good time to talk about more about that, because it's gone mainstream. 4 or 5 years ago, as I mentioned, it's like a Sudoku. I'm trying to solve this. I'm trying to talk to people, but nobody, it's hard for people to listen, because I'm at this particular outlier level that, people just consume coffee. But this is where the Bitcoin community has been open, and they will really, really want to learn as a case study. So this is where I spoke. I can hire a barista or agronomist to help me, but I cannot hire a team of developers, testers, and computer scientists to help me structure a payment system that allows us to use this technology, Lightning, to do split payments. So one day I went to La BitConf 4 or 5 years ago here in El Salvador. We were just talking about that. And there was an economic track, which is normally the ones I go to, the business side, but there was this tech track. And I'm like, okay, I don't have a team, but I'm going to go educate myself. And I saw this gentleman from Wales. He was talking about LM bits or split payments. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, that's what I need, open source. And now I'm going to see if I can even learn how to do it, or talk to people that can get me to at least a proof of concept. That proof of concept, we called it Espresso Pay. And I said, there's important, what I do is to help other farmers or other people adopt Bitcoin by educating and showing lead by example. With merchant adoption, I always said that was the future. And now I see Jack Dorsey and everybody talking about POS. And I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for 3 years. So when we were able to do that from our node, powered by LM Bits, we were able to do split payments. I was in Lugano. I took a big suitcase full of Satoshi single origin specialty coffees.
Yes.
That the paste and we have a genuine relationship. Now that's a direct trade. It doesn't get more direct trade than that. But I went there and I was talking just like we are right now, and people heard our story, and they immediately came and we started selling the dice. That moment, it was 8-hour difference. It was 10 a.m. over there in Switzerland. People were still asleep here. By the afternoon, I'm getting text messages. Don Jorge, we're getting like what you told us about because we put Lightning wallet on their phones.
Yeah.
It's like it's happening. It's like ching 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 ching. It's like a little piggy bank. And I'm like, yes. Now all we need to do is have education.
Yep.
As a parallel. So the proof of work works, but parallel to education.
Right.
But you cannot have one without the other because if you just have education and give everybody a diploma, you know, it's nice, but then the people are, okay, where are the sets?
Right.
So it's like kind of like turning on the light and making sure the fire goes in flames. So
wait, so I kind of want to summarize because I know I know the work you've been doing, but maybe to like simplify, tell me if I got this right. So, you know, you have now direct farms or oftentimes in collectives.
Yeah, it's the consortium.
Exactly. So these consortiums of different farmers, you know, they are producing this beautiful single origin coffee. And now when you're talking about the split payments, a kind of interesting thing when you say royalties, what you're really meaning is when somebody who's sitting in Switzerland buys coffee directly there, that payment immediately goes and splits out into the consortium of the different like growers in the different farmers. So they're getting direct Bitcoin immediately from the purchase that's happening around the world. And it's going and it's splitting across the different members of the consortium. Is that right?
Yes. You want to hear the best thing about
wild.
it? The algorithm I had to do it on Excel. And what I do is I structure, it's of 25 small and medium-sized producers.
Yeah.
So what I do is like some coffees are higher quality than others. They're all exceptional, but some are even better. And it wouldn't be fair to give them some more sats than the other, but I make them compete so next year, okay, that person got nine sats, this one got 7 sats. Okay, then we tell them in a transparent manner, okay, this is an 88 coffee, Cup of Excellence. We're going to showcase it at the next Cup of Excellence competition. Then they get motivated to work because somebody is really, really going to pay a royalty. So they've already been compensated for the harvest. 3-4 times more than the C price, which is the commodity price. But here where we give the value added and we roast it and we sell it under the Bitcoin brand, the Satoshi Single Specialty Coffee Series, what we do is from the node, it identifies which farmers are those. And the amount and people will say like, well, my sister, everybody, all my family says, well, aren't you like missing, you're sacrificing your revenue. It's not about that. It's about like making this case because more people actually are coming to buy coffee as a result of this work. And it's not it's proof of work. It's respect for the person that's like writing a book and getting royalties for it. But the good thing is like, it's not much because if people come here and there's a big line of people wanting to have their coffee and they pay with American Express or Visa, MasterCard, I have to pay 3-4% commission. So all I'm doing is that 3-4% commission, I'm reallocating it to everybody in the value chain.
That's right.
But when you have that in a high volume place like an airport or a university or something, it does make a difference.
Yeah, because it's basically everybody who's in the value chain is taking a piece. And by the time it gets to the final like person in the grower in the consortium, it's so much less than what you guys are doing. So this is like massively incredible.
And to do numbers, in El Salvador, a farmer makes about $15 a day.
Wow.
When I came back, some of them had $750 just in royalties in sats.
Wow.
It could be $750, it could go to $850, or it could go to $6. But the point is that it was just, they've already been compensated. So this is what I feel that takes your mind off like, what am I going to eat tomorrow? How am I going to pay for my kids' uniforms? To shoot, what university in the city my daughter is going to go to? I can now also buy her a violin. I mean, people begin to think. People ask me now, what was that you mentioned about custodial versus non-custodial? And then I say, you were listening. But before they would never ask because they were just...
Because you impacted their business.
Yeah. So now it's this consortium it's unique. I feel that we can do something. Now I have to do it manually because like I mentioned, it's like...
Yeah, sure.
I don't have the capacity to invest or that. I don't have the liquidity also for the note, but we want to be as fair as possible.
It's beautiful. What a story. Like, I know this is just the beginning. You have so many like things that are in the mix. Like, you're changing the lives of the farmers. It's incredible. So where can people find out more about Cherito?
Okay, Cherito on Instagram is Cherito Cafe, Cherito Cafe .sv, and it's actually an old truck assembled in El Salvador 50 years ago. They only made 600 units, and there's only one that circulates the streets of El Salvador.
I love it.
And that's the one. There's 21 million Bitcoin, but there's only one.
There's only one. Well, go to the one Cherito, go to his Instagram. We love the coffee. We love your story. Appreciate what you're doing, brother.
And also on X at Cherito Cafe.
There it is, at Cherito.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Thanks, Jorge.